Hi, class, and welcome to Chapter 6 Takeaway on Public Health Emergency Preparedness and Response. In this video, I'll briefly be going over some of the topics covered in Chapter 6. So really quick, here's a quick overview. In this chapter, we go over public health roles in emergency preparedness and response, national public health preparedness and response coordination, as well as information on state and local preparedness coordination. Now, when we're talking about public health, we have an emergency preparedness. Public health agencies have an important role in responding to disasters. Effective response requires coordination with other agencies, including emergency medical systems, fire departments, law enforcement agencies, transportation agencies, and other governmental and non-governmental organizations. Now, disasters may be natural or technological. It could be natural disasters that are often predictable and must be planned for. And of course, if they're man-made disasters or technological disasters, we're generally speaking of something unpredictable, but they also need to be prepared for. Now, the core functions and essential public health services framework includes preventing epidemics and the spread of disease, protecting against environmental hazards, promoting and encouraging healthy behaviors, responding to disasters and assisting communities in recovery, ensuring the quality and accessibility of health services. Now, I would like to mention that there are well-established principles for the management of disasters. Public health's role in disaster response, including monitoring and cleaning up of environmental hazards, surveillance of disease and issuing death certificates and burial permits. Other important functions that must be planned for include keeping the public informed, coordinating the distribution of patients among available hospitals and other facilities, management of equipment and supplies, and management of volunteers. Now, for us to have gotten to where we are today when we're talking about public health emergency preparedness and response, there has been a lot of lessons that have been learned over the years. Looking back at the analysis of New York City's response to the World Trade Center disaster, also known as 9/11, revealed substantial success in the thousands of people that were successfully evacuated from the towers before the buildings collapsed. However, it has been noted that there were major failures in communication and coordination that contributed to many unnecessary deaths. Also, going back to 2005 and looking at the analysis of the response to Hurricane Katrina, there were many flaws that were found. Considering that New Orleans is 80% below sea level and had previously been threatened by hurricanes, it had long been known that the levee system was inadequate to withstand a major storm. The governor and mayor gave unclear directions about evacuation, and plans had not been made for evacuating people without cars or patients in hospitals and nursing homes. So the scale of the disaster was far beyond the capabilities of the local and state government, and federal help was poorly organized and slow to arrive. Another example is the anthrax attacks, if you guys remember back in the fall of 2001. Which inspired federally funded and coordinated planning for bioterrorism response. Now, effective planning must involve physicians and medical workers, emergency rooms, clinical laboratories, agricultural and veterinary workers, the media, and others. So the federal government has created a strategic national stockpile of medical and emergency supplies. State legislators have been asked to update their laws to enable public health authorities to take necessary measures for protecting the public in emergencies. So just to kind of give you a little gist of major disasters that we have witnessed here in the US in the last, since 9/11 on, and how those lessons have been put into action, I guess I could say. Another example is smallpox. So, smallpox is one of the most dreaded of bioterrorism agents. It's been revealed that the US could be highly vulnerable to such an attack. The government actually stockpiled enough smallpox vaccine to protect everyone if necessary. Now, smallpox was actually declared eradicated back in 1980, and we actually stopped giving the smallpox vaccine here in the US back in 1972. And looking at this more from a global aspect, there's actually a physical stockpile of smallpox vaccine that's held by the World Health Organization, or WHO, in Switzerland. And it's actually estimated to consist of approximately 2.4 million doses when reconstituted and delivered. And not that we have to get technical, and this is not going to be on your exam, but the smallpox vaccine actually contains the live vaccinia virus, not a dead virus like many other vaccines. So if the vaccination is successful, you'll actually notice a red and itchy bump that develops at the vaccine site in about 3 or 4 days. Smallpox vaccination provides high level of immunity for 3 to 5 years and decreasing immunity thereafter. Just some additional information. Now, preparedness for a bioterrorism attack is the same as normal public health preparedness for naturally occurring disease outbreaks. The increase in federal funding for bioterrorism preparedness will help to strengthen the public health system. All right, here I am on the next slide. So we're looking at public health surveillance, and effective preparedness and response in the area of public health surveillance really relies on monitoring disease patterns, investigating individual case reports, and using epidemiological and laboratory analysis to target public health intervention strategies. And then we have epidemiological investigation and analysis. So public health agencies can really uncover unusual patterns that help identify outbreaks and continuing risks once a disease is reported. Many times they use sophisticated and analytic tools to determine these disease cases or patterns in the disease cases. And a lot of times these surveillance activities really help ensure that the disease outbreaks are identified quickly, and an appropriate response action is executed. Now, in the next slide, the topics covered are laboratory investigation analysis, as well as interventions. So when we're talking about laboratory investigation analysis, they really play a big part in identifying the causative agents and linking those cases to a common cause. And then when we're talking about an intervention, so this is the action that follows collecting, analyzing, and sharing information. And it protects individuals from the risk associated with environmental hazards. So these interventions include setting standards for health and safety, inspecting food production and importation facilities, monitoring environmental conditions, just to kind of give you an idea of what an intervention is in this case. Then we have risk communication. So when we're talking about risk communication, it's an exchange of information about risks or hazards between interested parties, such as from a government organization to the general public. And the goal is to facilitate an informed audience who's involved, interested, and solution-oriented. Now, preparedness planning is a very important public health role that really ensures the availability and accessibility of medical and mental health services. Now, it cannot, the planning phase is vital, but it cannot eliminate all biological, chemical, mass casualty threats. However, community-wide planning for emergency medical and public health responses really ensures that emergency medical services and medical treatment services are executed in a rapid and effective manner. And then we have the last section on community-wide response. And this term really just touches on the idea that the private sector, medical care providers, they really deliver a lot of the treatment services that are needed when a mass casualty emergency occurs. Now, before I continue, I did want to briefly talk about the public health emergency preparedness and response capabilities as created by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. So in 2011, they actually established 15 capabilities that serve as national standards for public health preparedness planning. Now, you could find much more information regarding these 15 capabilities. It's found in the document that was published back in October of 2018, known as the Public Health Emergency Preparedness and Response Capabilities document that is national standards for state, local, tribal, and territorial public health. Now, just to kind of give you a gist of the 15 capabilities, it's community preparedness, community recovery, emergency operations coordination, emergency public information and warning, fatality management, information sharing, mass care, medical countermeasure dispensing and administration, medical material management and distribution, medical surge, non-pharmaceutical interventions, public health laboratory testing, public health surveillance and epidemiological investigation, responder safety and health, and volunteer management. And as you might have noticed, a lot of the terms that we've covered thus far in this chapter are already included in those 15 capabilities. Now, they were updated, and so the document that is now released is the one from October 2018. However, it was updated January of 2019. And they updated these capabilities in response to lessons learned, again, from public health emergency responses, updates to public health preparedness and science, revised guidance resources. There's so many areas that have been used in order to make sure that all the corners are being covered. Now, the capabilities update focused on the capabilities that were updated, really focused on streamlining language and aligning content with national standards, updated science and current public health priorities and strategies. And the capabilities also support topics such as pandemic influenza, environmental health, at-risk populations, and tribal populations. Now I'm going to jump to the next slide on unique aspects of bioterrorism. I'm actually not going to begin going into this topic because I've already pretty much went over a lot of it. I just want to say that to really take the time to read the chapter, review the chapter PowerPoints. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. I don't want you to feel like I'm cutting this video really short, but I felt like a lot of the topics that are coming up on the slides I kind of jumped into in the beginning of this video. If you have any questions, concerns, never hesitate to reach out to me. And take care. All right. Bye.